Welcome back into Titans Today. I am Tom Downey, and today we're breaking down a new 7-round mock draft for the Tennessee Titans. We will do plenty of them, some with trades, some without trades. This one is a non-trade edition. Before we get to it, the last Texans Today video had 221 likes. I want to shatter that number on today's show. So if you haven't already, do me a favor, like the video right now. Before we get into the picks here, this is what Tennessee currently has. Now, the numbers might change a little bit with comp picks and whatnot, but round 1, pick number 1, this is all based on the PFF sim. Round 2, number 35. Round 2, round 4 is 101, 118, that round 4 pick via Seattle. Round 5, their own. Round 6 via Kansas City, then a 6th and a 7th rounder. So the big thing you're missing here, you don't have that 3rd round pick from the L'Jarius Sneed trade, which does hurt and could add some arguments to trading down in round 1. But we haven't done a mock draft since the Titans actually got the number 1 overall pick. So let's begin with a quarterback. And I'll put Cam Ward here out of Miami at number 1 overall. If you'd rather this be Shedeur Sanders, that's fine too. Just pretend that it is. Ward had an electric season for the Miami Hurricanes, almost getting them to the college football playoff. 43 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He is what I call a gunslinger. He will make plays happen downfield. He is a creator on offense. He will buy time with his legs. He will make plays happen downfield. He will be explosive. He will also make some bad decisions, hold the ball too long, and not be a perfect quarterback either. But if you want a creator on offense, which I can't recall the last time Tennessee truly had one of those, Will Levis was not a positive creator on a consistent basis. Shoot, it might be Aaron McNair was last time that one happened. Cam Ward brings that. NFL is a quarterback-driven league, even if the cyclical nature means run games still matter. If the Titans think that Cam Ward is a franchise quarterback, or Shedeur Sanders, or whoever, you take him. You need to have that in place. Now, if you don't believe in those guys, different conversations. That's when we will do the trade down mock drafts in the future. So do you want to draft Cam Ward? Go vote for me at the pinned comment of today's show. D for draft, P for pass. Get those votes in for me in the comments section, the pinned comment of today's show, especially if the ad comes here on YouTube. Let's talk some recent draft picks here. Just before we get to the round 2 pick for Tennessee. Jonas Savanaia off the board. Kenneth Grant off the board. Armand Membu, who I think might be more like top 20 when it's all said and done. He goes number 32 overall. I do really think this Titans organization needs to protect whoever that next franchise QB is. So in round 2, give me Wyatt Milum out of West Virginia. Now, he was a left tackle for the Mountaineers. I don't think he's going to play left tackle necessarily in the NFL. I think there's a pretty good chance he either kicks inside the guard, despite being 6'6", 317, or I try him at right tackle to start. But either way, I think a right side offensive line starter, not knowing how free agency is going to go, is a pretty massive need for West Virginia. He didn't get beat very much last year. Didn't allow a sack, didn't allow a hit per PFF, had a very high run blocking grade. Again, the traits aren't as, you're going, 6 pressures all year, why is it not top 20 pick? Traits aren't as ceiling-y, aren't as high as some of the other players in this year's draft, but if you can get a starting caliber offensive lineman in round 2 and plug him in there and have an option for you long term, I think that's a really good 2nd round pick. Some other players who were on the board, if you want a receiver, they had a run at Noah Buka. Trey Harris is a noteworthy player. I think fits pretty well with Calvin Ridley. If you want a defensive back or a linebacker, Jihad Campbell, Nick Amon Warrior there. I thought about Donovan Jackson a lot, actually. He might actually be a tackle the way he's played this past year for Ohio State, subbing in there. I would not be surprised to see Josh Connolly end up as a top 20 pick. So I went with a guy I thought was a little bit more realistic in being there in Wyatt Milum. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. It is the best place to get real money sports action. With over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 1,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. The postseason is here. The big game is here. It is the last chance to get in on the action for football. It's available in more than 30 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and Texas. This is one of my Prize Picks slates this week. The obvious freebie is Patrick Mahomes passing yards there. If you don't believe in Saquon Barkley getting going on the ground, 114.5 is a high figure. Go the less than there. And then also add a Jalen Hurts rushing touchdown, which I doubt it's receiving. I assume it's going to be rushing, which the tush push is always the play for Philadelphia. And it works for good reason. Download the app today. Use code CLNS and get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. It's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play that first $5 lineup. No third-round pick, so now I'm kind of like trying to find role players and not necessarily day one starters. Was a little surprised to see Andrew Mukuba, the Texas safety, available here. He had a fantastic year for the Longhorns after transferring from Clemson. Had 1 interception in his previous 3 seasons at Clemson. Had 5 for Texas this past year. I think part of that was overall there's just a lot of good talent on that Texas defense. But he was much more impactful. I thought had a really strong season. Went from, maybe he gets drafted on day 3. There were plenty of fans of his in 2022. Wasn't as good in 2023. Very much boosted his numbers at Texas this past season. Do like him in the 4th round. I think he very well could end up being a 3rd round pick even. But you're picking early 4th, so you should get a good value there. Now, others on the board. I really thought about taking Jalen Noel or Torrey Horton, the receivers at Iowa State and Colorado State, respectively. My mindset was, you know what? I have another pick in 16 selections. I bet one of those 2 receivers will be there, and they weren't. Sometimes you lose, sometimes you win in the mock draft sims. Jalen and Torrey both went off the board between my other 4th round picks. So I pivoted to Ashton Gillotte, the edge out of LSU, or out of Louisville, excuse me. I think more pass rush help, given the uncertain futures long-term of Arden Key and Harold Landry, is a good idea. Now, Gillotte was not nearly as impactful in 2024 as he was in 2020. The sack numbers really fell off. The TFL numbers dipped a little bit as well. The overall pressures weren't that far down, so I think it was just some not finishing, bad luck on opposing teams doubling him more frequently. I think a day 3 pick for Gillotte with the upside you saw in 2023, though he's not the same level athlete as others are. I am intrigued, and I think as a potential number 3 pass rusher in the NFL, get that guy in the 4th round. It's actually a pretty solid pick. If you guys want more Titans coverage, hit that sub button, youtube.com/Titans Today, for even more videos. I'll do this a lot in our mock drafts here for the Titans. I'm going to consistently double dip on the offensive line. I think Luke Kandra is an under-the-radar player, played at Cincinnati this past season, and was pretty darn solid. 7 total hurries allowed, 1 hit allowed, 8 total pressures allowed, no sacks, just the 1 penalty. The run blocking grade was pretty solid. I think maybe he's not a full-time starter, but for a Titans team that I think needs starters and depth on the offensive line, taking a lineman on day 2 and a lineman on day 3, I actually do think is a pretty sound idea. Let's move to the next Titans draft pick here. Nick Martin, the Oklahoma State outside linebacker. Again, I think adding additions, adding talent as best as possible here is a rational idea. This is pick number 166, by the way, via the Chiefs. Forgot to mention that. Good athlete. I think can be that run and chase style linebacker. He's not a very big football player. Given what the Titans kind of seemingly planned on defenses is add big boys up front, get athletic linebackers, and get a guy that with the speed and the athletic ability to help on special teams makes a lot of sense. At least as in my humble opinion. Now, even dating into round 5, but a lot of these day 3 picks, these are kind of fringe roster players. These are guys that you're hoping can be on the organization for several years and probably aren't going to get instant day 1 starters out of them. That happens, but it's not very common. It's more likely they end up barely making the team at all. There is a new regime, before we get to the 6th-round picks, in charge in Tennessee. What is your confidence level in that new organization? Let me know in the comments section. 1 to 10 is your scale. All right, let's get to the 2 round 6 picks here. Nick Nash, who put up massive numbers for San Jose State, was the wide receiver, Triple Crown winner. Harold Fannin had a big bowl game there at tight end. 104 for 1,082 yards and 16 touchdowns. He was awesome. I don't know if he's, level of competition certainly matters there. But in the 6th round, I'm really intrigued by a player like Nick Nash. I think could certainly end up going earlier. Caden Prather out of Maryland offers some intriguing traits as well. The production wasn't that great. The quarterback play wasn't very good at Maryland, especially without the other Tagovailoa in charge. They had a pretty big drop-off there. I would have loved to have gotten a receiver earlier, so I'm going to take 2. I don't believe in Traylon Burks. We'll see if NWI comes back. Headcanon is I signed a receiver in free agency again, but adding receiver help is a must for this organization. Finally, I'll add one more big boy on the interior, especially with Sebastian Joseph Day, a free agent, other guys, backups as free agents. I want to add more help along the defensive line. Cameron Jackson has that big boy frame to help you out. I think could play some 5-tech for you alongside Devondre Sweat. And then if Sweat needs a breather, he's big enough to check in along the nose guard spot as well. So honest answers here. Grade my mock draft. A, B, C, D, or F. Let me know in the comment section of today's show.